You can tell a lot about a man by the answers he gives, but you can tell even more by the questions he asks. I commit to being as concise as possible. A one-liner, as someone who knows from experience being in the trenches, then coming to a place of simplicity is tough. Having a one-liner for a rock, literally one sentence, we need to do this. Getting there wasn't a genie in a bottle. And what it represents is universes. If you consider the interconnectedness and dependency and volatility and everything that one line represents. In one regard, I feel like being Mr. Concise or jamming off a real crisp top line mission is wise and relevant and within the constraints of the conversation. That being said, I don't want to undermine the heart and the investment and the shocking levels of calculation that's been put into the detail behind the one-liner. When I think about the next 3 years, gents, I think a few words. And if we were in a giant room with a whiteboard, I would start going down just like a obtuse barbarian scribbling on a cave wall. And the first thing I would say is, whatever we're doing is going to be true according to this. Special thanks to Alexander Osterwalder for this one. Whatever we're doing, the very first thing we're always going to be doing, as long as we're entrepreneurs, believe you me, after doing the most rigorous assessment of a founder lifecycle I can possibly muster over the last several months, years, we got a pretty good idea on what the sunset and twilight / end of the founder's life cycle, because there'll be a point in time where a professional manager, CEO, I think, is evaluated, and all of that's a different sort of thing than what we're talking. But the level of quality that problem has is amazing. So keeping it realistic and close to the chest, we're going to be living according to our principles. We're going to be living according to our values. That's the only way we survive this far. And that's the only way we're going to continue surviving, is because we make decisions based on our principles. And those principles are proven true over time because they're applied to patterns we observe in our circumstances by leveraging our environment sensing capability set. The capability set, we have to be authentic. We'll always be authentic. And that's one thing I know for sure. And all kombucha aside, gents, I'd say if that's true, the number one thing that'll also be true immediately after that is that the biggest thing to validate is market risk. The number one thing we're always going to have to validating is, do they want this? Whether it's flying them to Mars or delivering a comprehensive visual depiction, digital twin simulation of their entire business holographically, instantaneously, and have thousands of AI agents powered by AGI building their company and decimating their competition 24/7, 365, while maintaining offensively large profit margins when compared to industry standard. So if it's any of those things, ideally it's going to be the last thing. We're going to have to make sure that they actually want it. We're going to have to look into demand. Now I think market making and Blue Ocean is great. Got corporate jargon. We're going to be building for what they want. We've always believed in market-driven product development from the earliest of days for so many reasons, many of them probably not academically correct. But for right, wrong, and different, we've always tried to get what they want, just to put it into circus terms. We've longed for the ability to have a finger on the pulse as close as possible. We could get brainwaves from people that are interpreted into no uncertain terms that would define what is. We would do that, assuming professionals deemed it ethically sound. And I'll say that we will always be solving for desirability first. And our intent is to truly understand the people we serve, and in order to move the needle in the real world, generate an ROI to them. As Hormozi said, people buy for health, wealth, and relationships. Wealth is the relationships through the alignment, but that's a secondary weight. We're going to have to drive ROI in the real world for them. That's how we are about our own existence. It has to be certain. We know we can do it. Dan and I have even talked recently in our last conversation about previously the bottleneck within production. It took us 4 months to generate 12 deliverables when we first started doing this. GPT-01 has been running on my phone, working on the master question list over 45 minutes, and I only had to prompt it twice. Once to start it, once to say proceed. It's freaking ridiculous how fast the capabilities on the delivery side are going. Hans, that's Mr. Jack's father. I can say that for a second. Hans says, skate to where the puck is going. And talk about skating, we're looking at a hockey stick, guys. We all know that. Keep ramping it up. Get question earlier and It's one that we continue to ask ourselves again, how do we structure the scope for this? We're doing more in less time at a higher quality. The reason we can do that is because of our skills, our experience, ambition, and most importantly, real world capabilities from these tools. When I think about 3 years from now, I start thinking about driving enterprise value in real world organizations, building a multiplier on each for companies that, again, is like offensive. It's to their competitors, to their industry peers. It needs to be shocking. Like the accountant, bookkeeper are going to have to check, triple check, quadruple check, because we're playing the game for the $1 billion company. We're in the early stages of that frontier. People were like, it's possible. We're early to that. And we may be at 100-person, $100 million company, but it's a step in that direction. So I'm using big numbers, crazy terms. It's really more abstract. And I'm getting to the principle on where I see us going in the next 3 years, which is it will be driving enterprise value and everything that umbrella term in a way that is highly competitive. And the reason I'm confident in that statement is because of our unique approach. Our approach has been one of relentless attention to detail and obsession with a few things that most people overlook at first glance. That's to attribute to our years of investment and sacrifice, but also the great fortune that's been afforded to us by the grace of God. I think if we are successful, we are going to be in a place where the platform is built will be something like a smart business platform that enables a self-optimizing smart business or recursive self-improving organization. I'll throw one more blog term out there that helps the medicine go down a bit smoother on my end. It will be, to some extent, a self-aware enterprise. Instead of being templates, the data sets, the actual repositories and knowledge bases are like the physiology of the brain. It's the actual dendrites and synapses within the brain that the mind of the LLM will use as context and will leverage all of the learning and all the revenue we generate, development in the platform to apply to a set of portfolios. Portfolio management is at the top of my mind when I think about how to scale this. Interacting with middle market PE firms is at the top of my mind when I think about this. And enterprise value and our investment in human computer interaction, user interface design, adult learning and gamification. I think we want to move more into spatial computing. And that's what Miro fundamentally has. I can attest been saying that for over half a decade about this spatial computing, pushing further into spatial computing, especially with user interface design. Immersive experiences is something that we eventually, I think the venture map will be experienced in the way of if you have Elon Musk as your COO and you could just FaceTime with them, you could text them, he's awake 24/7, and you've got Gary Vee as your marketing guy. I'm just using cliche characterized terms. And you've got all of the AI agents. The whole organization is like alive and operating nonstop at a superhuman ability. I think the reason we have a moat and a definitive edge in this space, at least temporarily, until we cannibalize ourselves, put our own selves out of business and to find the next thing that blows our competition out of the water, is the comprehensive nature of the set of repositories we're capable of establishing. The level of quality and clear segmentation through this work for proprietary data sets for our end users is something I'm quite proud of. And I think there's room to improve upon on the front end, our ability to leverage tools like Gamma and 11 Labs and everything else that we're finding and enjoying, Loom, of course, doing the visual collaboration stuff to prime the user with a level of abstraction on the data that's relevant for them to see a viewport, get context in their mind, enable decision-making and data capture in such an efficient way that it feels like, again, it's easy, it's fun, there's a dopamine hit, and we build a long-term behavior change.